Hey guys, Jin here, back with another video for you guys. This one's comical, so to speak. So, if you read the title, I stopped doing Mangatube for 2 years and still have the biggest collection. It's clickbait, but it's true, okay? For some part of the thing, it is still true. So if everybody knows from one of my past videos on what I was working on to know exactly how much I had, because I had lists that needed to be updated, things that were in different places, all that other jazz. Even more so than I thought originally, which could be a bad thing. But I didn't really collect anything, like hardly at all in the 2 years that I didn't do Mangatube at all. And to come back and really know like what is out there and who's got what, and to see collection videos and whatnot, kind of really lets me know a basis that sure, people have been collecting, but obviously not as hardcore as I did. So anyway, nobody's got anything close to my collection. Just throwing that out there as a complete and utter joke, because yes, I did make this video for clickbait. Anyway, manga in its fullest and reading it and all that other jazz isn't really that big of a thing. I would say you can sit there and buy what you like and what you want. I would say you need to go through a vetting process per se. You need to know what you're into, what you want to focus on, what you want to actually read. Instead of going out and kind of buying everything, there are some other people that I do know that do that, and will probably never read part of the stuff that they have. Now, there are other people that I do think that have done that. You watched one of my last videos where I talk about manga collection versus a manga library, then you'll kind of know. I determined that more so off of the TBR, how far you are on the TBR, how far have you read. I think that it is a percentage thing, so if you keep it within certain percentages, like even though the amount that I have or whatever, I have still read 80% to, I think when I calculated it last, up to like 84%, so I'm giving myself about a 5% error margin. I have read that much of my collection. Yes, there is plenty of other things that are out there, but that is kind of what you focus on, I believe, whenever you go into buying manga, is knowing how much kind of TBR space you have. And again, it goes into library versus collection. But yeah, no, I made this as a clickbait video, even though it is pretty well true. I think my old collection videos are still up, maybe, that are like 4 parts from way back in the day, and I think it was like 4,000, which is still a pretty big force to be reveled with. I love seeing how there are a lot of people that are still collecting, do have massive collections, but again, as this video says, even though I stopped for 2 years, nobody's still buying. And I'm fairly certain of that from any of the top tier videos and things like that. If you've looked at them, and it's pretty bad that you can sit there and go through video or lines of videos and videos and videos and videos and videos, and nothing actually come close. So the closest things that I would say are Japanese manga collecting or collections or whatever, and of course those are going to beat anybody here in America, because let's just face it, Japanese manga is about a quarter to a third of the price of our manga here in America slash other places in the world, and you can buy them a lot cheaper, and you can buy them in bulk and still not even cover as much as 100 volumes here will cost you. I mean, if we take like Right Stuff, which is a fairly well-rounded number for how much most stuff sells, and we take like Viz Media or like the Shonen Jump, which is our battle manga, stuff like that, then we have a good grasp on stuff, I believe, for saying like a hard $7. Well, buying 100 volumes of manga for that would be $700. It's still a pretty good chunk, but it's $700 of manga. Probably roughly the same amount there. You're going to be $250, something like that. It's a thing. I mean, you have different things in different places and how much they cost and all of other jazz. Now, do they hold their value there? I'm not sure on that. That is not a question I can answer. I don't believe so. But here, obviously, part of our manga holds its value pretty well. So, I mean, one of the other funny things is seeing a lot of my friends that actually collect manga and are still on the platform and do different things, and knowing what they're collecting, how long it's taken them to collect it and stuff, and knowing like, hey, I've had that, or I do have that, or things like that. We do get a lot of... I'm sorry, I was wearing a sparkly Dubai shirt. Dubai. So, we have a lot of stuff that goes well into that. Things that aren't printed anymore, things that are kind of reprinted, things have gotten cheaper than what you actually think. I really didn't think that there would be a lot of other ones that would be cheap. It seems like if some of the ones that I wanted before are becoming easier to find, kind of, sort of. Even though it's a little weird, like Knights of the Zodiac, you can kind of like find pieces of it and they're cheaper, so it's really weird. I know like a big thing on some of those is like first appearance, so like in Ultimate Muscle, in that series, which I have all 29, there are about 3 or 4 that are high dollar manga, just because it is like a first appearance. In that way, just like American comics, we are kind of the same way. This is the first appearance of Superman. This is the first appearance of Gunhead, or whatever, the Night Guy, or the big red and yellow guy in Ultimate Muscle. Those ones, when you have first appearances of certain characters, are always going to be rated higher of a series, or if there's a big catastrophic event going on. That too can also increase like the value on different things. So if you're looking for old manga, that's kind of what you want to look for. You want to see if there's big event ones, and those ones will be more high dollar. Those are ones you want to find out in the wild more often versus trying to buy them online, unless you can get like a thing. Most of the time, people don't really understand because they think that the same value goes for every volume of manga. Not so much true. Ultimate Muscle, pretty much for the least amount of them, go for maybe 10, 12, 13, something like that, just for your base ones that you would get, are uncanny Naruto volumes, if you will. Now, things like that, we also have to look at and go into, like I said, you have the first appearances, all that other stuff. Those are going to be your high dollars. Those are the ones that you could sit there and say, hey, it might be a minor character one and be $25, or it could be a major character one that gets introduced, and those can go maybe $75, something like that. Could be even more now. And then everything else is kind of scattered between. You can have little ifs, ands, and though. The main character's best friend ended up getting put in the hospital. Okay, that's a $20 book. Something like that, So a lot of stuff slash current collecting, which I know a lot of people do that now too, or if you have FOMO, fear of missing out, then you have a lot of stuff that you want to get / all the seller stuff. Now, I think that when you are looking at all this jazz, all this stuff, I always say jazz, when you're looking at all this stuff, you need to pay attention when you want to expand your collection on sales. You want to always know, like, hey, you can get other stuff as you move forward with it. But as always, like, right stuff is one of your big things. If Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, one of the other places has like a 2 for $3, then your big omnibus collection books are usually cheaper. The 2 for $3 on regular priced small tankobons, aka like one of these, you know, it's not quite as much of a turnaround for that. It's actually about dead even from what you're going to pay for that, just because of how many hands it changes over compared to if you buy it from like Right Stuff. It cuts out one of the people from going to the distributor versus like the facility, things like that. It does make it a little cheaper, which is why Right Stuff is such a great place to do it. The only other time you're going to be able to find deals like that is if you find most likely a mom that's selling their kids manga because they went to college or something. They don't think they're going to want it anymore, things like that. That is a thing. So that's a way you can buy more manga as well, is when people don't know what they have. I mean, it fits into a lot of different stuff. We may not think about it that way, but like back in the day when parents collected Beanie Babies, and it was one of those big things, it's kind of the same thing, except with us, manga is still relevant. So, yeah. Beanie Babies, obviously not so much. But, like I said, that does kind of show you the area of where you can go, the avenue of what you want. There are different things that you can buy from there, especially if you wait till sales or you get like coupons off. I think I just got one, which it's not sitting on the books that are sitting on the table. I thought it was sitting over here. It's not. And if you're looking at it, yes, there are stacks of books that go up to about like right here and right here. That are on my table. I'm still trying to organize and throw them over here on this shelf and go from there, and of course spread them out a little more so that I have room and can focus on series to complete and be totally done with, and series to complete and have to wait for the next volume to come out. So that is also another thing. But yeah, I mean, you have plenty of different things. Now, I did hear in a video that I watched recently that you shouldn't really pick up random stuff. I will agree to that to an extent. I think that sometimes you have to be adventurous, and you do have to pick up something random based off of the cover art or the description of it, because it might be something that you would be into. Now, there could be things that you started reading at one point, and you get into it, and it's not what you think. You know, for me, when it comes down to it, when you are reading, I always look, and you can look back in my videos if you care about it or not. I always do this thing called the sandwich method, which lets you know kind of 5 types of manga, whether you really wanted to read it and it was like enough that when it came in you automatically dropped what you were reading, you read that. Stationary, which is stuff that you were able to read on a regular basis, it was just kind of great. You had stuff that you read, you enjoyed the story, but it wasn't really something that you cared to pick up a lot. That was more of your overflow. You read it when you didn't have anything else that you wanted to read, or if you needed something to get you hyped for another volume. You know, different stuff like that. Of course, you had other ones that were base manga that were always going to be there, always good. Your long-running series that you would say, hey, I'll read that again, it'll be fine. And of course, like, you had your other ones that you really wanted to get into that were more your fresh manga, things that you did give that chance to and see if you wanted to continue it or not. There's a bunch of different ones. One that I've recently pulled out of one of these boxes is Inspectorate. I hate that one. I wouldn't say not necessarily hate. I like the aspect of it. Just, it's a little weird. It's wordy, and some of the stuff that it focuses on to be an enjoyable story are not what I think make it an enjoyable story. But I did get through that. It was enjoyable enough to say that it was. And after I would finish those volumes, whether it be One Piece or Case Closed or one of the other ones that I really did like, then when I read those series, I would jump into them and be like, oh my god, this is so much better. You know, it's kind of like in that aspect of, you know, mom says, hey, you know, before you have dessert, you gotta eat dinner. You know that that's gonna be a lot better versus, you know, that. But it's, on the flip side, it's like, if you started with dessert and all you had was dessert, and you just kept going and going, and you felt sick, you'd get like the little boy off of Matilda, I can't remember his name, Brucey, that's what they call him. You know, you get there, and I mean, you can only have so much chocolate cake. That's my interpretation of a lot of things. You can almost only read so much of the same manga before you're like, I am super tired of this. I'm going to change. I'm going to read a different volume. I am going to follow a different series. Maybe I'll read a couple volumes of that, or maybe I'm going to read my one shot or my single volume series, and then maybe come back to this later. That is kind of how that works. So I think that that is kind of a way that you should do part of that stuff. Now, I feel like I'm giving you some tips and tricks. Hopefully you will think about that and either one, help it conquer your TBR, two, find a way to purchase your manga in a better fashion, aka manga budgeting, or three, hey, you just keep doing what you're doing, because shit happens, okay? But yeah, no, like I said at the beginning of the video, I didn't do Mangatube for 2 years. I didn't collect manga for 2 years, really. There was really a lot of stuff that just didn't happen. And coming back and knowing how much I have now and picking it back up and being like, man, like, I'm not even like picking up a bunch, but knowing how much I've gotten and how much I've read and going from there, that's a lot. And you know, people that really have the passion for the manga have the passion for the manga. We'll just say that. Yeah, nope, completely clickbait title. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. You know, somebody that has had skin in the game for a while, and reads a lot and has done that, even though, like I said, I took a 2-year break from doing like all of that stuff, to them just sitting in comic boxes and then unleashing the beast and pulling everything back out, getting back into reading them and trying to get up to date and whatnot. You know, it's not as bad as I believe, especially in the collection department, because knowing that most of the series that I had, either some of them finished, so I have like 1 volume to buy, or maybe like 4 came out, doesn't seem like that big of a problem to me. Now I have other people that have said, well, yeah, you still have to buy some of those. But yeah, there's not that much coming out still, and there's not that much that I actually have to worry about as long as I finish those. So, not only that, but, you know, there's a lot more stuff that's out there now. So I think that the 2 years were good because that completely drained the FOMO out of me. So there's not a lot, I would say. I don't think there's a lot that you actually have to focus on knowing and trying to complete. So it makes it a lot more fun to actually know that and to get back into it and to read stuff and know, like, hey, I finished this. Oh, but there's like another part. Maybe there's a second helping of it that came out or whatever. You'll have something with a title, and then you'll have this, and it'll be whatever, like 0 or whatever, max or whatever. We'll have more, which makes that fun to continue some of those stories and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, as far as it goes, collect at your own pace. Take a gander sometimes. Pick something out that might not be your forte. Give it a try. If it's not, sell it, take it back, whatever. Give it to your cousin. Maybe they'll get into it because of that. I've had cousins of ones that I accidentally got doubles of from buying collections, and then they're like, hey, can I, thanks for giving me like these 3 or 4 volumes. I really enjoy it. I want to keep reading it. Do you have anything else? And I'll give them some of the other ones that I have, and they're like, oh yeah, let me read that. Let me complete whatever. And that's what they'll do. So, I mean, as long as you also take precautions like that, you say, hey, let me give you some of these other ones, a family member or a friend or somebody that maybe that one would make their day, one that you don't like. I mean, it's kind of a win-win at the end of the day. So, anyway, yeah. So I hope you liked this clickbaity video. I don't feel like I've ever really done one that's not one that anybody else did, and I've never really done it before unless it was a joke first. So this is my first time making the joke of, as people like to say, swinging that manga dick around. Stupid. I always used to feel like it was the dumbest thing when people would say that when I reported with anybody or whatever before. But hey, there's always the first time for everything. So me telling you this and using it obviously is not out of place. But yeah, stay tuned for more. You can catch some of our other shows on the Otakuology podcast with me and Otaku Mike. And I will catch you guys later. Thanks again for listening to this crazy episode. But as I said, I hope that I could imbue some of my wisdom upon you. Go forth with my blessing. You're welcome. And I will catch you guys later. See you next Tuesday.